Do you remember when the internet was fun? When just connecting to the internet was an experience? You had to do something. You actually had to connect. You had to dial into the internet or other things just to get to it. It wasn't at your fingertips as it was today. How great would it be to have that same experience on modern or vintage hardware? And I know you're probably thinking, but Mike, we have FrogFind. We do, and FrogFind is great. And what Action Retro built blows my mind, even now. Being able to access the modern internet on an older machine is an amazing tool, and it brings a lot of life and usefulness to some of these older machines. I'm not talking about FrogFind. I'm talking about a little slice of the old web on your new computer or a vintage machine. And that's right, AIM. We're going to talk about AIM. Welcome to Protoweb. Protoweb is, well, basically it's a proxy server that allows you to access snippets of the old web. I'm going to show you how we're going to configure this, but let's take a look at their About Us page. And it makes sense. A lot of people are being more interested in the history of the internet and just history of computers in general. Protoweb takes a snapshot of the web from the 90s. Now, what I like about this is it is an interactive museum. It's not a file archive. You can actually go to a lot of websites I remember from the 90s, and it's exactly as they were. You can interact with them. You can browse through them just like you would have back in the day. Now, everything isn't there, and they do emphasize it is quality over quantity. It's not every website you ever visited, and probably will never be every website you remember from the 90s, but it's a lot, and it's authentic, and that's why I love Protoweb so much. I'm going to be using this on Netscape Navigator on my Windows 10 laptop, but this will work on any computer, especially any browser that will work with a proxy service. So how do we set this up? Well, all we're going to do is we're going to configure our proxy server to go to this address. Now, the port number is interesting because we can simulate a T1 connection, or my favorite, 56K, because that's what I had. And it's going to basically throttle you to less than 56K, because you're never going to get that, you know? But this is how you're going to explore the internet at 56K. So let's switch over to Netscape and see how this works. All right, so here we are. We have our proxy set up. I've also changed the home page to automatically go to this Protoweb jump page. It's all on the website. Just go through it. It's pretty easy. But once you're here, we can start going through. Here's all the links. This is 3DFX from the late 90s. 101 titles and still counting. So this was the web in the 90s, going to some of these. Let's see what IBM's doing back then. See how that's loading? Look at that. That is actual 56K. That's what it was like. Web pages had to load. I love it. So here we are on IBM's web page on my T495. Look at this. Software. So it's not perfect. Not everything is there. Like they said, quality over quantity. So be okay with that. It's not everything, but it's a lot, and it's great. What do we get here? Oh, we need a plugin. I don't think I can get the plugin, can I? Let's just skip that. Sega. Oh, I remember this. Dude. Let's go to the Saturn. Oh, man. I remember being as a kid going to this and just drooling over the Saturn, thinking that this was going to be the future. And, well, it wasn't. That's awesome. That is awesome. What else do we have? WinZip. Jeez, look at this. Order now. We'll be like LGR and order our own WinZip. So, like I said, this is great. And this isn't, let's be honest, right? You know, there's a couple dozen websites here, and that's great. Not everything is here, but the websites they have are really, really good. It's just like it would have been back in the day. Here's LucasArts. I mean, it's interesting, right? Early 90s web pages were different, a lot different than what we would have today. As you saw, you had a light menu or an enhanced menu. Now, mind you, we're simulating 56K, so we will have some slowdown and some stuttering. But, geez, I remember this. I vividly remember this website. Wow, what else do we have? Capcom, Cybernet, GT Interactive. SPQ, I had this game. Of course, Quake, but everybody had Quake. I love this. The Empire's Darkest Hour. It's loading. Look at that. Oh my god. The web's most spectacular game, soon to be released on CD-ROM. Let's check it out. Wow. This was a great game back in the day. This really was. This is going deeper than what I thought. Wow. Get your copy. Enter the secret archive. Wow. Okay. All right. Like I said, it's not perfect, but this is pretty awesome. What else do we got here? Tomb Raider, Web TV. Oh man. 1995 Netscape Home. Netscape Home. Preview of the homepage in 1995. Yep. There you go. That's Netscape. What more do you want? Now, you just saw this work on modern hardware, and of course it works on vintage stuff too. This is my Windows 98 SE machine. It's kind of my daily driver for a lot of vintage use. And here we see we just did a proxy, and we're going to go straight to the home page and start looking at some of the old web. I find this an incredibly authentic experience because of how slow it is. It loads slower, and I don't know if that's how this older operating system handles it. I mean, my Windows 10 machine is slow, but it's snappy. This feels more like 56K. This was the real dial-up experience. You see it really trying to load here and chugging along. And that's what I love about it. Here we're getting the real experience. Look, we got Duke Nukem Forever, we got Max Payne. This is how you would experience this website back in the day, even if it is painfully slow. Now, if you're like me, you found this really exciting, but this is probably not why you stuck around so far in the video. You want to see AIM. So let's switch back over to the Windows 10 machine, and we're going to show you how to get AIM working today. So the very first thing you want to do is go to the Google box and search for Phoenix AIM. Click on the very first one that's going to show up because we want to chat like it's 1999. Now, I will say, based on some Reddit threads and other forums, this site could be a little sketchy. There's a lot of InfoWars stuff on here. We're just going to ignore that because I want AIM again. But you are going to have to register for an account, so use a burner email. Everybody should have a burner email anyway that you don't really care. But you need to register for an account again. So if you're a nerd like me, you probably remember your old AIM screen name. So go ahead and register that. After you register and you have your quote-unquote AIM account, then we're going to have to download a client. Now, if you go to the download page here, they have a list of most of the versions of AIM that work. Now, caveat, not every version listed here and not every version in general works, especially on the Mac OS side. Some older versions just don't work with this, and that has to do with the Oscar messaging service. They're working on it. This site is pretty good about updates to their services, making sure that they have patchers and information to get everything running again. But once you get it downloaded, or any version of AIM downloaded, you just can't type in your username and password and sign on because, well, the AIM service can't be reached. If you go over to FAQs, it'll tell you what we need to do. And all we're doing is we're going to change the host URL to one of these two addresses here. and make sure that we use the correct port number. So if we go to Setup, Connection, replace our host and the same 5190 port, now we can log in. We're going to get this startup script because it's pointing to some old AIM Today address that obviously doesn't exist anymore, so just ignore that. This is a later version that was integrated with some Yahoo. It's not going to be back, so just close out of that. Now keep in mind, any old buddy list you would have had on the previous, like real AOL servers, are gone, so you're going to have to start your buddy list back again. Now, to demonstrate this and to show that it really works, I have AIM Pro over here with my old Mike A360 username from way back in the day, and then my new RToD username. And it's just like it was. Look at that. And we'll bring up the AIM Pro box. Oops. Look at that. And everything works. You can even warn. Remember warning? Man, so if somebody was harassing you too much, you can just warn them. You can also warn anonymously, and then that increases your warning level. Man, this recreates it. I would love to get a bunch of you back on AIM through this with a burner email and just really relive the experience. So both of these are my usernames. I usually have them up, at least one of them, mostly the RToD one, because I don't know. I just have a really fond memory of having AIM in the far right-hand side of my computer no matter what I was doing. That just brings back a lot of memories. And it's really nostalgic, and especially when you throw that with an older browser. All right, well, I think we're going to wrap this video up. Now, this may not be the most useful thing in the world, but I think it's really great to be able to recreate that early 90s experience, especially for somebody who wasn't even alive then or didn't experience the internet. And if you can do it on a period correct machine, all the better. Because if you're my age or older, just looking at this probably brings back a lot of nostalgia. Using Netscape, using AIM. This was my social network back then. This is how I ingested the World Wide Web, and it brings back a lot of memories. I will try to keep the RToD screen name up anytime I'm on the computer and not really doing anything important. So if you do have Phoenix AIM, please feel free to shoot me a message and let's connect for a little bit. So, hey, thanks for watching. Have a good one.